Hey, what's up guys? It's Online Money 24/7 and today we're going to be talking about 3 dividend stocks for 2018. So today guys, we're going to be going through 3 different stocks that I think are great to get started with in 2018 to invest in for those dividend yields. So without further ado guys, let's go ahead and get into it. So the first stock for the list is McDonald's, ticker symbol MCD. So obviously most of you guys should be familiar with McDonald's. They are a global brand. They sell food all across the world and they recently just released their new dollar menu, which is really nice because now the McChicken is only $1. I personally love the McChicken. That's just me, but you know, they have a new dollar menu that's definitely going to be bringing in some extra profits for them across the board. You know, people always are going to McDonald's for that value, and that's really what they've been offering for years upon years. So this just really reiterates that with their branding and stuff like that. And so, you know, McDonald's is a global brand, and their dividend yield, as today's video is about, is 2.97 is their dividend yield. So it's a higher dividend yield than a lot of dividend paying companies, but yet it's still a very stable, large company, a blue chip for sure that you're not going to really run into too many issues. And it's also been having quite a good growth year in the past year. If we take a look at the stock, it has done really quite phenomenally, pretty stable, nice steady return for the past year. Obviously the stock market is up overall, but McDonald's alone has had just a really solid, steady year, consistent income over the past bit of time. So definitely recommend McDonald's for investing into because they have a nice dividend yield, but at the same time, they're not like a super slow growth company to where you're not taking advantage of really a lot of stock appreciation. With McDonald's, you're still getting that stock appreciation and you're also being able to take advantage of a pretty nice dividend. I mean, it's almost 3, which is a really solid dividend for such a solid and secure company in comparison to others where, you know, a lot of companies will sacrifice and maybe pay a high dividend, but they're not necessarily doing as well themselves as a company. So McDonald's is just one of those really good companies right there that you have that solid, steady growth in the stock and as well as just a nice dividend yield considering what you're getting into. I mean, McDonald's global brand, massive company, so definitely recommend McDonald's. Now let's go ahead and get into the second dividend stock for today's list, and it is Abbvie Inc. So ABBV is the stock ticker symbol here. It is Abbvie Incorporated. So they are a biopharmaceutical company. They sell drugs similarly to Johnson & Johnson. If you guys are familiar with them, you know, they sell household brands as well as developing drugs. You know, Abbvie Inc. also is a drug developer. They are more or less a competitor there. I know I've talked about Johnson & Johnson before on the channel, so maybe if you guys are familiar with them, you know, Abbvie Inc. is very similar in a way. They are, I think, Abbvie Inc. I think is the 3rd largest biopharmaceutical company. It's quite a long word there. But, you know, they develop drugs in a similar way. And, you know, try and help people with medical stuff. And those medical drugs, you know, whenever they have a drug release, man, their stock just shoots up like crazy. Because if they're making a ton of money off that drug release and selling it to hospitals and stuff like that, I mean, they make massive profits, especially because, you know, someone's life is very important. People pay a lot of money for specific drugs that some people need that are maybe expensive to create and expensive to produce. Abbvie Inc. can offer that. So their dividend yield here is 2.72 is the dividend yield here. However, another thing that is really important to mention, because Abbvie Inc. has had a phenomenal year, like outstanding year. They actually are up like 13% in the last few days in the stock market, which is pretty crazy. I don't think that this growth, the rate will stay the same forever because they've had some successful drug releases back in September. As you can see, there was a nice spike up there as well. Obviously, you know, the rest of the part of the year is pretty steady growth. These huge spikes are amazing. You know, I wish I was in this stock during those times. That would be amazing, but, you know, shoulda, coulda, woulda, of course. You know, to hindsight is 2020. That would have been great. But, you know, this stock, whenever they release a very successful drug, it could shoot the stock up. But at the same time, if they have something that doesn't do well, it could also shoot the stock down. So that's just something to keep in mind if you do want to get into Abbvie Inc. You know, they have incredible growth rates right now. They have a pretty solid dividend considering they've had like, I think they're up 120% in the past year with these giant spikes in the recent few months, you know, from September to now. So if you want to get started with them, yeah, definitely recommend them just because they're offering drugs, something that people are always going to need for their health. You know, that's something very important. Obviously, people want to live. That's definitely something people always need. Not going to be necessarily going away anytime soon. So Abbvie Inc. is the second stock for today's dividend companies for 2018. Now, moving into the third and final stock for today is Wells Fargo. WFC is the ticker symbol. So Wells Fargo, if you guys are not familiar, is a bank. Very similar to maybe JP Morgan, Chase. You know, it's a bank, one of the largest, if not the largest in the United States as a bank here. You know, you put your money into the bank, they secure your money. They offer as well as apps and stuff like that. I think they also offer credit cards similar to Chase as well. I'm not super familiar exactly with what all Wells Fargo offers in terms of the specifics, but they're a bank. It's pretty straightforward, you know, what Wells Fargo offers. They offer banking services, okay? So their dividend yield is quite high in comparison to maybe some of the other banks, because a lot of banks are very big, secure companies. You know, they don't really move a lot in the stock market. They're very, very slow movers because they're just such massive, massive companies with so much money. And so their dividend yields are generally lower, but Wells Fargo is one of the highest dividend yield banks with a 2.54 as the dividend yield. And another thing important to mention as well is this is Warren Buffett's number one position. If you guys were curious about that, Wells Fargo is his number one position as of right now, or at least as of the last time I checked. I mean, he's, you know, definitely always managing his portfolio there, but if you were interested in that, Wells Fargo is one of, if not his number one position, one of his biggest positions in the stock market right now. So that's kind of cool. If you want to be like Warren Buffett, you could invest in Wells Fargo. And looking at the stock over the past year has gone up a little bit. You know, I mean, like I said, banks don't really move a lot, and it's only moved, I think, about $5 in the past year or so. Since March of 2017. So, you know, like I said, banks don't move a lot. If you want to put your money in a very, very steady and secure, banks are a great way to do that. I mean, obviously, that's why Warren Buffett does it, because he has so much money. It's like he doesn't really need to invest in growth stocks. If you have a ton of money and you just want that nice dividend percent, put it into a company that's not going to move a lot. I mean, similarly with like a lot of older people that have a lot of money will put money into like Johnson & Johnson or the banks like Wells Fargo and stuff like that, or Chase, because you know, if they're not moving a ton, there's not as much risk involved, I guess you could say, because a lot of growth companies are maybe a little bit more risky of a play. But whereas these kind of really steady, secure companies like the banks have a decent dividend yield, and you just throw your money there, and it's not a big, it doesn't matter that much if the stock itself does not have a large growth rate, because you're really just in it for the dividend yield. So that's something to keep in mind and play around with different dividend yielding companies. Some are going to have more growth rate in the stock. Like I said before, with Abbvie has a huge one. McDonald's is about a moderate one, and Wells Fargo is a pretty low growth rate. But overall, still some great stocks to get involved with. All have at least a 2 dividend yield, more closer to the 3 range, with the 2.5 to 3 range is generally what you want to be aiming for a company if you're looking for a higher dividend yield. A lot of companies do offer lower dividends, but you know, if you want to have that higher dividend yield, these are definitely some of the companies you could get involved with. And if you guys are looking for a stock brokerage app, I personally use Robinhood because they offer free stock trading, no commissions on trades. So if you want to support the channel, you go ahead and click that link down in the description box below. And if you have not subscribed to the channel yet, what the heck are you doing? Hit that dang subscribe button, hit the notification bell as well so you get notified for future videos, uploads, and all that good stuff. Leave a like, leave a comment down below if you have any questions, comments, concerns. But anyway, guys, that's all for today's video. So I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.